Hola, you amazing artist, and welcome to the studio. A few of you have asked, like, how much work do you create? How do I create more work? Because you create a lot of jewelry, and I definitely create a lot of artwork, but we do have stints where like nothing is, life happens. You get that feeling inside where you're like, I need to get into studio. And basically creating art is an addiction. So we've been doing this for a little bit over a decade, but before that, I was in corporate and, that was pretty much my day job. That's what I did for a living. And the idea of being an artist was just this like airy-fairy idea that was just never going to happen. I think a lot of my habits when it came to creating art were very much in that realm of like, this is never going to happen, so I'm not going to take this thing seriously. And I'm not saying that, in order to be an artist, you have to put yourself out there, but like if you want to make this into a career, if you want to earn some money with your art, you're gonna definitely want to be putting yourself out there. You're gonna want to be doing festivals and shows and gallery shows and having an online presence and all that stuff. Back then, it seemed completely impossible to me because it was one of those things where like if I created like a work of art once every 6 months, that was a big deal. And I would stress and strain, and basically once I created the thing, then it was created, and then I would take a hiatus from the studio. I was very off and on when it came to working on art, constantly fighting that imposter syndrome where I was going back and forth with, why am I wasting my time with this? Oh, I really need to do this. And it was a struggle. I remember at one point my friends actually submitted my work to a thing and it got in, and I had 3 pieces in there, and somebody had asked about the artwork and they asked about the size. Would you make a bigger size? But they also said, your work is really interesting. We would love for you to do a solo show. And at that point in time, I think I only had like 6 works of art. The idea of doing a solo show was absolutely terrifying. And because of the time frame that I had set up for myself, where it was like, I'm lucky if I create 1 work of art every 6 months, the idea of filling up a space was just, so I never got back to that person. If you were to come today to me and say like, we'd love to do a solo show. We love your artwork. And I only had 6 works of art. I know that by the end of the month, I'm going to be able to fill the space. There's no doubt in my mind because my determination would be the thing that took over, because I no longer believe that it's not possible. It's going to be a little bit hard to explain here, like how to create more art, because really it comes down to what you believe is possible. I want you to think about this because the underlying reality is that whatever you think is possible, that's what's possible. So if you don't think that you could create more work, then, you might have to change your mindset. So one of the first things that I would say to somebody if they were like, I just want the brass tacks, I want the practical advice, I would say create a distraction-free environment for creating your work, right? It has to be a room or a section of a room or a corner of your room, somewhere where you're gonna have privacy, where you could close the door, and not only that, but have everything set up and ready to go. So really all you have to do is sit down and get started. Sit down and get started. That's it. And I've said this before in videos, like I work on several works at once, but whatever I'm sitting in front of, that's what I'm focused on. And then, because for artists, there's a lot of like waiting for things to dry or mixing your, like there's a lot of waiting involved. So while something is in that waiting period, I'll move that to the side and then put something new in front of me, or walk over and put something new. I have a whole art studio. If you just have a desk, have an area where you could put the works in progress that are drying. If I focus on whatever's in front of me, and if something is in that waiting stage, then it goes to the side. And that allows me to work on several pieces at once, even though I'm not working on them at once, but several pieces instead of just one piece that there's a lot of waiting time. So it's eliminating that waiting time. The other thing that I do is that I set a goal for myself. I set a clear goal when it comes to the studio. I buy my canvas in bulk. So there are times where I'll have like 10 pieces of canvas. Maybe they're a certain size, maybe they're different sizes. And I decide, you know what? I want to work on this series. I'm going to need so much of this kind of supply. I need these many canvases. And then I get started on it. And that way, by the end of it, I know that I'm going to have 10 new works of art. It makes something that is big like that much more manageable. If you're just sitting there and you're like, I need 20 works of art for this gallery or for this show or anything like that, it's this fuzzy idea. Whereas if you're being specific, I'm working on this series, I'm working on this series, where I know, okay, this is what I'm working on. And I would make sure that I had the room to be able to do that. The whole idea here is to not waste time with the stuff that isn't the creative part, the putting paint to canvas part. The other thing that is really important, and this was my biggest hurdle back in the day, was you got to eliminate the mental barriers. You're going to be riddled with self-doubt. You're going to be riddled with all kinds of things, imposter syndrome. You're going to look at pieces and be like, this sucks, this sucks. You're going to go through the journey of like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. A lot of artists have a really hard time with the good enough part. I've gotten really good at getting to a place where I'm like, you know what? I think it's done. I think this is good enough. Because I always know that if for whatever reason it's still bothering me the next day, then I could do something with it. For the most part, there comes that point where you have been staring at this thing for a long time and you're like, I think it's done. And honestly, if you think it's done, most likely it's done. So you want to eliminate as you go those mental barriers. You're going to have that self-doubt. Just be aware that those doubts and things are there. When you are aware of it and it comes up, it doesn't hit you like the voice of God coming down and being like, you suck. I realize like, oh, this is just my insecurity that's flaring up right now for whatever reason. I don't have to believe this voice. I figure the longer that you're doing this and you're creating art, the more practice you get at ignoring those stupid voices, or confronting, not ignoring, because you don't want to suppress shit. You want to confront it. The other thing I do, and it's really underrated, is a warm-up activity, right? Like some kind of thing that's going to get you in the mood for getting into the studio. It's just getting that momentum going. There are times where you get in the studio and you're like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know why I exist, things like that. And you want to get to the place where like you are in that momentum, in that flow, like a ritual for yourself that like gets you there. And the other side of that is giving yourself like a time block, giving yourself a time where, depending on what your schedule looks like, it's like, you know what, I'm going to get in the studio early in the mornings. There's a lot of authors and artists and stuff like that had jobs and they would get to writing early in the morning before they went to work. Some of them, it was in the afternoon or in the evening after they got out of work. So it's like giving yourself that block of time to say, this is what I'm dedicating this to. I think that was one of my biggest issues back in the day. Was I always had every excuse in the world to not get into studio, right? I wasn't feeling creative. My life kind of sucked. I had a corporate job that I hated. I just wasn't a happy person. Just never seemed like it was the right time, even though I really wanted to get in there. And honestly, in a lot of cases, it's exactly what I needed. I always came up with a lot of really brilliant excuses not to get in there, but that's because I wasn't determined. I didn't give myself like, you know what, I'm gonna get into studio every day around this time, or I'm gonna get into studio, or I'm gonna walk in. Even if I sat there and didn't do anything, at least get into studio.
So lately I've been employing the tactic of basically the same storytelling tactic of like a television series, right? So I'll have like my episodic jewelry that I can make like in the short term. And then I have my overarching narrative jewelry that I spend longer periods of time like working on one piece.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
That's how I strike my balance. I'm like, this piece is an episode and this piece is a whole season.
I love that. That's such a good point, because I have pieces that it takes me like 3 to 4 months to finish, and then I have pieces that I could finish in a couple days. We got into a mindset where it was possible way ahead of time and came up with those techniques. I love that. These are my episodic pieces and this is the story arc. If you think that you can only create so much during this period of time, one of the biggest things for me is challenging myself to create this much during that period of time. What size am I going to be creating? What kind of things am I going to be creating? Can I do this? You either can or you can't. And really, you're the one that gets to determine that moment to moment. Push those boundaries of what you think is possible by giving yourself challenges that maybe seem impossible, but they're not possible until you make them possible. So yeah, so get out there, be creative, be awesome, and don't listen to your own limitations. And by the way, you guys, tonight, Clea and I will be doing our band practice on our music channel. We do that once a month. We do a live stream.
The song was written in our driveway over a Guinness and is not whatsoever loosely based on anything that happened in my 20s. Mm-hmm. All characters in this story are fictitious. Tater said, yes. Well, I went to a party and I got drunk. Some people talked some smack and I found myself in a funk. And so I stumbled on and called up my old friend. I said, hey there, friend, what's going on? He said, it's 3 a.m., what are you calling for? I said, better yet, where am I calling from?
I play guitar really badly and Clea sings awesomely and all that stuff. So if you want to join us, head over to our music channel and it'll be tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. And a big shout out goes to the Rogue Artist community. Love you guys. You're the reason that we're able to do these videos, and you have no idea what it means to us that you've joined our amazing community. It's just a bunch of amazing artists from all over the world. Thank you for being a part of the community. And for all you amazing artists watching this video, thank you so much for watching. You guys are absolutely awesome. I totally adore you. And if you like this and you want to watch more like this, just click right over here to subscribe. And you want to say goodbye, Clea?
Good day.
Adios.